Hey, listen up.
I'm listening.
If you enjoy the Last Episode podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the Last Episode podcast. Like it, share it. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at JaLilWill, so you can interact with me. We can talk. You can let me know what you like and don't like about the pod so we can make it as great as possible. You can come here weekly and get your
spirits lifted.
Because you know how we get down. Enjoy the episode.
Put some music on. What do you think this is, the funeral?
Yo. What's up, y'all? On the last episode of the last episode, we talked about The Mandalorian, right? That was fun, but now it's time for the excitement that we've all been feeling. WandaVision is here. WandaVision has arrived, and it's about damn time because it's been forever and a day since we've had some Marvel content, and I've been needing that. I need some Marvel content in my life at all times. You can say,
Yeah, that brother's starving.
you know, I need it. Okay. I'm glad they finally brought something in the way that they're going to drop this stuff not month after month necessarily, but the shows every 2 months. So we are going to have a lot of consistent Marvel content coming. I'm very excited about this. Now, let me start with not WandaVision yet. We're going to get to that. But the first thing I want to do is I want to have some time to appreciate Age of Ultron, okay? Because there are some people who underrate this movie. They don't understand its significance, I believe. Sometimes it gets lost on people, okay? But the movie is extremely important to everything, and I think it's one of those movies, actually, even though I enjoyed it the first time around. I mean, first of all, we got Raymond Reddington doing the voice for Ultron. Love James Spader. That boy, he's a beast. I love him. Watch The Blacklist. That's my show. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But I digress. The movie is made better when you go back and watch it after you've already seen everything else, because then when you come back and watch it, you see all of the other things that a lot of the things that happened that came from Age of Ultron, essentially, right? So let's go through some of those things. So first of all, I want to say that Wanda was she was pretty excited when she first went into Tony's head and messed with his mind and letting him see what the future held. If he didn't prepare enough, and she had a pretty big smile, a smile we haven't seen as big since WandaVision. Now we've seen her smile a ton, and what came from that was Ultron. We know Ultron took her brother, and it's just what you think we want isn't always what we want, right? But anyway. Age of Ultron led to Wanda, okay, which and also led to Vision, and which gave us WandaVision, okay. So that's the first thing. That's just easy off the top, okay. Easy connection to make. So let's just get that one out of the way, okay. But we also got our first glimpse of the Hulkbuster suit in that one, which we ended up seeing in Infinity War. That was a big point of conversation and controversy because we wanted the real Hulk in Infinity War, and they tricked us with the goddamn commercial. I appreciate that. When I saw it in theaters and the Hulk wasn't actually out there running and he was in the suit, yeah, I'm sure, like everyone else, you're like me.
What the hell?
The whole movie. We can never fix that. Anyway, we got our first glimpse of the Hulkbuster suit. We got our first glimpse of Widow and her origin story, right? When Scarlet Witch messed with her mind, she got us a little bit of a preview of what was going on in Widow's past, okay? And now we're getting a Widow movie. We have somewhat of an idea of what to expect. Now, I'll say this again. I'll speak for the people who are MCU bound. Okay, I didn't read the comics, so some of you, you know more about the backstory to Widow than I do. That's not what this podcast is for. It's for us MCU fans who don't know some of that history and want to just watch events unfold and react to it and enjoy it. That's who we're here for. Okay, but some of you comic book fans, I hope that you find the podcast enjoyable as well. So, anyway, continuing on again. It gave us a second visual of an actual Infinity Stone. Okay. Some say the intro to Hawkeye's family is something that you don't really care about. Look, I can't make you care about an archer. I myself have always been enamored with archers. A skilled archer is a cool ass thing in movies and shows. And Hawkeye is one of the best, Legolas notwithstanding big shouts. But I like the archery. Honestly, the whole family thing is not something that if you took it out would bother me a ton, but I don't mind him having that. The wife did say at one point when they were talking, I support your avenging. And it felt gratuitous, I don't know. It sounded patronizing to me, and I hated the way she said that. Like, if that was my wife, I'd have said something like, hey, I don't like that. That's essentially fix it. But we started developing the relationship between Hulk and Widow. Hulk leaves at the end and ends up in the contest of champions with the Grand Master, so it sets him up for his presence in Thor Ragnarok, which is a phenomenal movie, of course. Let's see, in the barn with Fury, when Tony had his conversation, he mentions what Wanda showed him, right? And he believed that what he saw was the future, not a dream or a manipulation. And so, of course, that's why he starts doing the things he does to try to prepare. Now, he says he felt the worst because not everyone died, but he didn't die. So clearly he felt like he didn't do enough if everybody else put their lives up and got their lives taken, but he survived, which you could say played a part in his decision ultimately to do what he did in Endgame and end up being the one who dies himself to save everybody else. Let's not also forget there's something else that that I'm gonna get off of the Age of Ultron thing right now. I think you get the point overall. But one thing I want to talk about was the scepter that was given to Loki by Thanos, right? He gave him the scepter with the task to go to Earth and retrieve the Space Stone and give it to him, essentially, and he is supposed to rule over Earth. Now, with us knowing that Thanos wanted all of the Infinity Stones and the scepter contained the Mind Stone, that would lead me to believe that at some point Thanos was going to take that staff back away from Loki. And I just wonder if Loki was aware of that part of the plan, if he was privy to that knowledge, and if he was, would he have still been, willing to go through? I mean, he was power hungry, so some of those dudes, they'll take a L, they'll sacrifice some things and make a deal that's basically front loaded, essentially. But hey, that's you. If that's what you want to do, shout out to you. Anyway, like I said, the connections from the past movies to the future is everything. It makes it very interesting. It adds intrigue to it. So that's another reason why you can appreciate Age of Ultron when you go back. You always pick up different things. Anyway, let's get to WandaVision because it was special. It was amazing. It was different. Now look, I've watched all these different Marvel shows. Okay, Runaways, the Daredevil, the Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Defenders, I can't even remember them all, And what was the one that got canceled? That was on Fox. I think it was on Fox. I can't remember. There was a couple of them that got canceled, but I've watched them all. Agent Carter, the whole nine. Agents of Shield. There's not a Marvel show that's come out. Even that show Legion that was coming on FX that wasn't like Marvel, but it was based on Marvel with Marvel people working on it. I've seen all of them. Okay, and this is way different from anything that I've seen before, and it's fascinating. It really is. Okay. You have the comparisons to I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball, rest in peace. I used to watch that show late at night. Um, it's just got a great old school sitcom feeling. We knew they were going to do that. Come with the studio audience and everything to give it that organic feel from that time. And the way that they're acting is something that I didn't expect to be so damn good. Right, they're killing it in these roles. Paul Bettany is a star, um, absolutely killing it in pretty much every scene that he's in. And but who steals the show every time she comes on screen is Agnes. Like I can't have the show without Agnes. I hope she's in like pretty much every episode that I'm gonna see. Like she's great. He's she's absolutely great. And as soon as she comes in talking about I'm your neighbor on the right, not your right, my right, and I would have came here sooner to welcome you, but my mother-in-law is in town and I hate her, whatever, whatever. The delivery is magnificent. She's absolutely killing it. Now, you see from the very beginning that they love each other, they're together, and they know that. They know about their abilities and the powers they have, but they don't know much else, right? Which is interesting. This whole thing about a person watching them on the outside, and they're taking notes. It's I think of the framework. The framework. If you're not familiar with the framework, that's a reference to Marvel Agents of Shield. Okay, there is a doctor, a scientist who, with the help of an artificial intelligent robot that he was able to build named Ada, build what was called the framework, in which he would essentially suspend your mind and your thoughts and put you into whatever you wanted the most, right? Because his intent was essentially to make people happy, and so they don't have to stress. But I mean, it's not real, it's a virtual reality. You're living a whole nother life. But the people in the framework had a full understanding or had full knowledge of like an entire life in the framework. They remembered their childhood, and it was all a fabrication. Everybody in there, it was so complex. You had Hydra, you had everyday people, teachers, school, all that stuff. And everybody believed that it was real. And a couple of the main characters got trapped in the framework, put in there by the scientists and Ada, and they absolutely believed it too. They had no idea. A couple of the other main characters, Daisy, also known as Quake, goes in with one of her scientist friends, Gemma, to get them out, essentially, get their friends out. But they went in with the knowledge. They were able to remember that they are in an alternate reality called the framework, and were able to maintain the knowledge of what their mission was. Everybody else who was sent in against their will had no idea that they were in the framework and that there is another world out there that was actually the real world. They thought they were in the real world. So it's very complex in that way. And this is interesting in the fact that they're inside something that seems virtually realistic, because it's different. It's a different time. We already know that. Like, something's amiss here. But they don't have a recollection of their past and how they got there. In the framework, they know. Or they at least have some sort of story, because they would remember growing up and meeting each other and all that. Like, the entire story would be made for them, and they'd remember it like it actually happened. But they don't. And that's but they also don't remember being put in here. It's not like they're on a mission to escape. So there's obviously some fundamental differences, but it still reminds me of that in a way. And it's really interesting to see them try to navigate these conversations with the different stars in the show, the different characters they have to come into contact with that are asking them questions about where they came from, and they have no idea, you know. But the like the scene, of course, with the boss, Mr. Hart. Okay, he's hungry. He's crying for some food, man, and the wife too. She's talking about, she's getting dizzy. Mr. Hart, he's like, he's starving. He said it himself.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
He needed some food. He needed some food. Okay, and me, I didn't like him in the first place because he did Jones dirty. Okay, it was funny, but he did Jones dirty. So I was like,
just go cry to your father, you little weasel.
I wasn't feeling any sympathy for Mr. Hart. Okay. Now, the way he did Jones, Jones said he got the man a 5-course meal when he came through, and he got fired anyway. He thought it'd be enough for Mr. Hart, a 5-course meal. This guy, Vision and Wanda, they served that man breakfast for dinner, and he wanted to give him a raise, a promotion after he almost choked on. I'm assuming it was a sausage. I don't know anybody to really choke on eggs before. That'd be pretty terrible. But I don't think that's what happened. And when he started choking, by the way, I wasn't tripping. I was kind of like, I wasn't going to shed a tear for Mr. Hart. Once again, I'm still thinking about Jones. I felt bad for that guy. He looked so sad. And but Mr. Hart had a point. He did have one point. He said that they let us know essentially that Jones wore a turtleneck. That's a big no now. Okay, don't do that. Okay, no. I'm not a turtleneck fan. I don't think that they're stylish at all. I think they look terrible. There's not any turtleneck that you could show me that I would say, most turtlenecks aren't great, but that turtleneck is good. Matter of fact, if you wear a turtleneck anywhere around me, then my feelings about you are,
You're a criminal.
You deserve to be locked up, thrown in jail.
I don't even know who you are.
It's just because anybody that I know wouldn't wear a turtleneck. Like, you would understand that it's just not the move. It's just not the move. Okay. But anyway, let's go ahead and move off of that. It's hilarious. The show's hilarious. I kind of wanted to make the pepper cash meal when Mr. and Mrs. Hart came for dinner, by the way. Like I said before, I looked it up. It looks delicious. I kind of want to try some, but I'm scared. What else was interesting about that scene was Mrs. Hart and the endless laughing and saying "stop it" while Mr. Hart was choking, right? And at first, she's looking at her husband saying it, but then she turns to Wanda and she's saying, stop it, stop it. Like, hey, help him, I guess, right? Because as soon as Wanda snaps out of it and says, Vision, help him, she stops saying, stop it, and stops laughing. She just sits there and waits for them to help, and they get up and leave like nothing happened, and it's crazy. So I think it's fucking adorable that they have rings now, husband and wife, making it official. But the Yakety Yak song, y'all can do better than that. Okay. Now, in the second episode, we start to get more of a Bewitched feel. Okay. By the way, the computational services that Vision works at, that they don't know, he doesn't know what they do, and they can't explain it to him, even though they know, and they try to explain it, but they're not really explaining it. It's just great writing. It's hilarious. It's funny. The whole thing is funny. But yes, going on. Look, I want to jump straight to the gears in the stomach. Now, here's when we get a little bit more into some more of the interesting, even more interesting stuff, because the second episode, I feel like you really start to see some cool stuff and things that really make you wonder. Okay, like the matter of fact, I think it was the first episode that had the toaster commercial, right? But in the second one, and that one was interesting. Stark Industries toaster and all that. You were making toasters back in the 50s. Huh? That boy really had his hands in everything. That Howard Stark. But in the second one, we have a lot of different things, and I'm going to get to that commercial in a moment. But first, let's start with the gears in the stomach. That part was confusing to me because, I mean, the whole point in Age of Ultron, when you use the machine to build Vision, was you were building him with organic material to be somewhat of a humanoid that doesn't have gears, doesn't have to worry about an oil change, you know? Like, I don't know what happened there. And I guess it has to be part of what's going on with them, maybe. I mean, it was interesting to throw in the show, and he was acting all funny and crazy. And I enjoyed that part of him. I thought he killed those scenes as well, just being a clown essentially. But the fact that it happened like that because of some gum still kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But that's not something I'm going to hold against the show in its entirety. I mean, I enjoyed the show, and I have a thing. Am I entertained when I watch the show? Right? There can be some things that don't make as much sense as long as it's not too nonsensical. But I'm here to watch and enjoy a show, and if you were able to put something forward that I enjoyed, then I'm going to let some shit slide. All right, that's just how I roll. Okay. But anyway, then that was one thing. The gears, that was weird, but intriguingly, the toy helicopter that was in the bushes out front. What was that? Because I have no idea. Now that symbol that was on it, the circle with the upward pointing sword, it looks familiar as hell. Almost like a Soviet type of logo or representation. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not positive. And the colors, right? The colors are similar, I believe, to that as well, but they're also similar to like Iron Man's colors. And what was up with the number 57? I'm sure we'll find out more as we go on, but those are just some questions I have. At first, I was like, "Is it AIM?" So I looked up the AIM logo, and it was different. And actually, the logo for AIM is looking kind of similar to what was on the back of the Beekeeper when he came up, with that small part that we saw towards the end of the second episode. If you don't know, AIM stands for Advanced Idea Mechanics. It was created by Baron Strucker. You're familiar with the Struckers, I believe, if you've been paying attention to the MCU. And it was a branch of Hydra when it was created. And so, yes, they're evil. They are evil. The watch, too, in the commercial, since we're talking about the Struckers. Swiss made is what it said. It's a nice looking watch. Swiss made, and it had Hydra on it with the Hydra logo. That was right in our face. We all saw it. But the Swiss made part, too, right? Johann Schmidt, aka the Red Skull. Dr. Arnim Zola, the scientist. Main players in Hydra early on, as the Hydra headquarters were located in the Swiss Alps. Just very interesting stuff. You know, all the connections are fascinating. And why the 50s, right? Why the 50s? Why the bewitched feel and theme in the second intro opening? These are questions. These are questions. The part when they were in the meeting. They had the meeting, Vision had the meeting with the Neighborhood Watch gossip crew. They gave me a 40-year-old virgin vibe sitting at that table playing poker when they found out that old boy was a virgin. You know what I'm talking about.
It all makes sense. You're a virgin.
Yeah, you remember that scene. It was hilarious. I loved it. I cracked up. I died laughing. That was one of those movies, man. Anyway, it gave me those types of vibes, and they're not getting actually anything done. They're just bullshitting. Hilarious. Let's see. I also wanted to touch on Agnes's jacket. When she came up to Wanda when she was holding the helicopter, she had on a pin. She had a pin on her jacket. And it had some sort of symbol on it, but I'm not sure what that symbol is. But I question everything, you know, and so I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on that symbol and see if I see it anywhere else. You know, we don't know who's in on this. If Agnes is in on this too, or whatever's going on with them. I mean, but then again, she could just be another person who's, if it's like the framework created, you know, a simulation, just that realistic. It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, okay? So, anyway, Dottie is a great character as well. She's great because she's going to have people that hate her. But I like her because she's an asshole character. And asshole characters are the best to me. Some of the best. They're just entertaining. I want them to be assholes continuously and say asshole-ish things because it entertains me. Though, sometimes you gotta tone it down a little bit. Like, he was getting a little disrespectful with Wanda, you know. It was hilarious when Wanda says she wanted to try to mend the rough start that she had, and Dottie replied with, and how would you do that? That was pretty hilarious. And Wanda's reaction was also hilarious, man. Every time I'm seeing Dottie on the screen now, I'm hoping for something slick to come out of her mouth because it's hilarious. Hilarious. The talent show that was done confuses me as well. Not in a way that makes me question the show, but just makes me question their neighborhood. And this talent show that has so many trophies and awards, where you have a specific category, comedy performance of the year, and you know, we all saw the table that had all those other trophies, and it was like 8 trophies or something like that. Like, how many damn performances did you have? How long did this talent show last? What are the categories for the rest of the trophies? I want to know. Someone please enlighten me. I'm sure we're never going to get that information. That's one of those things that's just going to fall by the wayside. But I noticed it, and I had to ask some questions, okay? I wanted to know more, okay? And I think that's fair. Another thing about the whole gum, you know, Wanda was able to get it out for him after the talent show. And thank God that she can just move things with her mind. You know, it's very handy. Wish I could do that. But since when Vision ate the gum and he got slapped on the back pretty much immediately, the gum went down immediately. So that means he didn't get a chance to actually chew the gum. And he didn't really get the spicy cinnamon flavor that Big Red provides. And that is something that I'm sure he appreciates, because I would appreciate it. Big Red gum is trash, and I never would like a piece of it again in my life, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, especially if you've never had gum before, in which I would assume that Vision has not had gum before. My first choice definitely wouldn't be for him to have some damn Big Red. What the hell? Why do you have the Big Red? You're a communist. Exactly. Anyway, that's all the time that we have for today. Don't forget to follow, share, subscribe to the podcast. The Twitter is at JaLilWill. The Instagram is the same, at JaLilWill. And we're going to be back for another episode after the next episode on the last episode, if you feel what I'm talking about. I think you do. Anyway, you know how it goes, everybody.
Sun's getting real low.